Hi there everyone, Josiah here with Womprat Creations with this week's scratch build. And this build is going to be a shop infrastructure build. It's going to be solving an issue that it's a big issue in this new shop. And I'll just show you guys. All right, so my big issue, I have a couple big issues, but my main issue that I'm going to start attacking today is this shelf. This shelf is disgusting. It's horrible. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of problems to solve here. But the one that we're going to be solving today is my drill press is sitting over here. Yes, I got a drill press and I have been using it and it is lovely. It is a great tool for the shop. But I have learned that this is not a good spot for it. Mainly, I don't know if you can see, but there's a ton of dust everywhere from using the drill press over here. And I realized that this needs to be more of a, this needs to be a cart. This needs to be up on a cart so that I don't have dust accumulating on this shelf where it's hard to clean it out. So today's scratch build is going to be building a cart for my drill press, and it's also going to be a little different than my other carts that I've made. I try to mix things up for not only for you guys but for me too. I'm trying to improve my skills as a maker. So yeah, this one's going to be a little different. Let's get to it. So like I said, there's a few things that I'm going to be doing differently for this cart than I normally do. Namely, well, number one, the biggest difference is that it's entirely going to be made from MDF. The reason for that is because it's cheaper than plywood, and it needs to be machinable for the things that I am wanting to do with this, and MDF is way more machinable than plywood. The reason that it needs to be machinable is because the drawers that I'm going to be doing aren't really going to be doing drawers. I need to be able to store my my drill bits for my drill press, and I don't like drawers for that. It just doesn't sound good to me. So what I am thinking I'm going to do is something I've actually already done, but you guys have not seen me do it, although I have talked about it. Let me go get it. Hang on. Okay, so this is what my plan is. This is a platform from my Dremel organizer, which I did a show and tell on, but I didn't film the building of. But this is a platform which is constructed with a 1/4 inch thick piece of MDF on top of a slightly smaller platform of 3/4 inch MDF. And what this does is these two pieces that hang off the sides actually plug into notches in the cabinet. And I have little holes drilled into this platform. There's a couple different platforms in there, but a bunch of them have these tiny little holes so that my bits can plug in like this, and when I need one, I can just pull out the platform, grab what I need, and then when I'm done, I can put it back. That's what makes sense to me for bit storage. I like this. I'm sure someone else has done this before, but I was really happy when I thought of this for my Dremel. It's worked out really, really well for that. So that's what I'm going to do for my drill bit. So I'm also, because my drill press is a fairly recent purchase. I haven't had it for very long. And because of that, I don't have many bits for it at the moment. However, I don't want to have to build a whole new cart every time I get a drill bit. So there's going to be some empty space in this this cart that I'm making, and that's on purpose. I'm leaving myself some room to grow. That also just makes sense to me. So because well, I don't know if I really have a good reason for it, but I feel like I should start with these platforms for this drill press cart. Wow. I feel like I should start with constructing the platforms rather than constructing the cart itself. So I'm going to get cracking on the platforms. And I think the first thing I need to decide is how many to have. Well, maybe I should start with the cart. No, you know what? I'm going to start with 5. I'm going to start with making 5 platforms. Let's do 6. Let's make it an even number. I'm going to make 6 of these platforms, bigger than this obviously, but I'm going to make 6 of these platforms and then I'll see how we're looking. That's what I'm going to do. Man, that was a lot of drilling. It took way longer than I was expecting it to, but all of my current bits have a home. They have all been appropriately labeled, and I have left myself plenty of room to grow. Each one of these has room for many more bits of that type, and I have 2 blank ones that I can allocate to other types of future bits. So I have plenty of space. Now that these are essentially done, we're going to be doing a little bit more to them, but they're essentially done for the moment. I need to turn my attention to the cabinet. And since I made my platforms first, I need to get measurements off of these so that I can get my measurements down for my cart, and then cut out all the pieces and start assembly. This is a little different for me because normally I start out with the cart and then stuff like drawers. But the other thing that's different about this is that normally with the shop infrastructure build, since I always put the files on our Patreon for our patron members, I usually do a 3D model of the thing first. This one, I'm doing it opposite. I'm making the thing first, and then I'm gonna have to go and make the 3D model. So, yeah, I'm kind of swimming in the dark right now, but that's okay. I like going through new workflows, and this one's different for me. So, I need to get out my notebook so I can figure out the dimensions of my cart. All right, you guys, I did this one off camera because I wanted to make sure that I could do it before showing you guys. But I showed you guys the platforms that I made, and they have the overhang of the bottom 1/4 inch thick MDF, and that overhang is so that it can slide into these slots that I've made on the on this side panel. I need to make these same slots on the other one, and I'll show you guys me doing that. But the way that I did this one is with the table saw. I've done this before with the vinyl cutter cart, but I use my router, and for this one I'm using my table saw, mainly because it's a little easier, it doesn't involve as much setup, and I have a nice table saw now. I want to use it. So I'm going to show you guys me doing that, but I am super duper pleased with the way that these came out. They're really nice. So the way that I did that is I set my table saw blade to come up above the table 1/4 inch. This is 3/4 inch thick MDF, so there's still a 1/2 inch behind these slots. So it shouldn't affect the sturdiness of the cart at all. That was a concern because I'm using MDF. When I was building my vinyl cutter station, I put my slots in a full 1/2 inch into the plywood, but it's plywood. So that was structurally sound, but I'm a little worried about the MDF. I don't think it would do as well with only a 1/4 inch, in between these or in these slots. So I'm only going with a 1/4 inch, but I have my blade set at a 1/4 inch high, and then because I'm using 1/4 inch MDF to go into these slots, and my blade is only an 1/8 inch thick, I need to do 2 passes on each one. But as you'll see, it's a pretty quick process. So I'll stop babbling and get to work. Okay, so I'm upset. I'm a little upset because you saw me put some black paint on my cart here, and I'm getting this texture on here that you can see, and that is in painting, it's commonly referred to as a orange peel effect, and that could be caused by a bunch of different stuff. That could be putting too much paint on at one time. That could be the room is too hot that you're applying the paint in. It could be all kinds of different things. Actually, what I think it is I've actually been using a different sanding sealer, and this, I don't like this stuff. The hardware store in my new town, this is the only kind that they have, and it's crap. I don't like it. So I have stripped this down and repainted it twice, and I'm getting the same result. So I'm a little flustered. I'm just going to stick with it because it doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to function, and it will function. I was planning on making some drawer faces for my platforms, but I'm a little too flustered with this project to do that at the moment. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use it as is for the meantime. I can always come back later and put drawer faces on the platforms, but for right now, I'm just going to stick with it as is. So I just need to move the drill press on there, put all the platforms in, and then find a spot for it in the shop, and then we'll be good to go. All right, you guys, so as you can tell, it's not the prettiest cart I've ever made, but it serves its purpose, and I like the height that my drill press is at. This is a good height for me to be able to work on things without being hunched over or it being too far up to operate safely, and all of my platforms work beautifully. Even the hole saw one that has most of the bits towards the back, I left a gap on the tail end of all of my platforms so that I could pull it all the way out like this and it would still stay in its slot, and then I can just push it back whenever I'm done. Yeah, even though this ended up frustrating me a little bit, I am happy with it, and especially because, I mean, I moved the sanding cart over so that you guys can actually see it. It is going to be sandwiched in between my sanding cart and my tool cart, and so I mean, you're really not going to be able to see much of the texture anyways, but it's going to bug me nonetheless, but that's okay. Building this though, I did realize that my sanding cart is pretty lame, and we'll address that some other time. But I'm going to go ahead and call this build a success. Even though it's not a pretty success, I accomplished what I set out to do. So thank you guys for tuning in for another Scratch build. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, consider checking us out on Patreon. Patreon is a great way to help support the channel directly, and it allows us to give you some cool stuff in return, like free 3D models of all of the shop infrastructure builds that I do. You can get free merch and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. So go check it out. Thanks, guys.
517 to scanner control. 517 to scanner control. 316, report to control. 53 to upper bay door. 53 to upper bay door.